What if I told you that one of Hitler's most trusted generals, Alfred Jodl, was sentenced to death for war crimes and crimes against humanity after World War II? In this video, we will delve into Jodl's role in the Nazi regime, his involvement in planning military operations, including the invasion of Poland, and the horrific execution that marked a landmark in international law. Watch until the end to learn more about the Nuremberg Trials and the accountability of even the highest-ranking officials during times of war. On October 1st, 1946, in Nuremberg, Germany, 21 defendants, including top political, military, and economic leaders of Nazi Germany, were sentenced after more than 10 months of trial. This was first of many war crime trials held after World War II, and has served as a warning to war criminals and dictators everywhere. The International Military Tribunal held the Nazis accountable for the unspeakable atrocities committed during the war, particularly against Jews. Of the 21 defendants, 12 were sentenced to death by hanging, including German General Alfred Jodl. Alfred Jodl was born in Würzburg, Germany in 1890. His father, a member of a Bavarian military family, was not married to Alfred's mother at the time of his birth because she was considered unsuitable to marry into the family. Alfred joined the Bavarian army in 1910 and was promoted to lieutenant in 1912. He married Countess Irma von Bullion in 1913, but they did not have children. Jodl fought in World War I and was awarded the Iron Cross first and second class for his bravery. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles held Germany responsible for starting the war and imposed severe penalties on the country. Jodl continued his military career and eventually rose to the rank of general. During World War II, he served as Chief of Operations Staff on the Armed Forces High Command and was involved in planning military operations, including the invasion of Poland. After the war, Jodl was tried and convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity at the Nuremberg Trials. He was sentenced to death by hanging and executed on October 16, 1946. The trials served as a landmark in international law and demonstrated that even the highest-ranking officials were accountable for their actions during times of war. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties on Germany after World War I, including the loss of 13% of its pre-war territories, extensive reparation payments, and demilitarization of the Rhineland. The German army was limited to 100,000 men. Despite these restrictions, Alfred Jodl, a professional soldier, secretly planned, reorganized, and enlarged the German army in direct violation of the treaty. This rearmament policy was initially carried out covertly, using front organizations, but later it was openly and massively expanded. The Nazi regime's main objective was to redraw the map of post-World War I Europe, as they considered the international borders unfair and illegitimate. Hitler and the Nazis wanted to unite all Germans in a Nazi German empire and acquire Lebensraum in Eastern Europe. The annexation of Austria was a crucial step in achieving these goals. The Anschluss, as the annexation of the federal state of Austria into the German Reich became known, took place over 3 days in March 1938. Although the leaders of the West saw the Anschluss as an invasion, no government made a move to stop Hitler, who felt free to embark upon the next step of his scheme to conquer all of Europe. The Nazi Party's propaganda convinced many Austrians, including Austrian Nazis, that the Anschluss would bring political, social, and cultural reunification with Germany. Thousands turned out to greet Hitler, who was returning to his homeland. However, the Anschluss was a clear violation of international law, and it set up the stage for Hitler's further expansionist goals. At the end of 1938, Alfred Jodl was appointed as the commander of the 44th Artillery Regiment in annexed Austria. However, just a week before the German invasion of Poland in 1939, Adolf Hitler appointed him as Chief of the Operations Staff of the German Armed Forces High Command. This command had been established in 1938 to unify Germany's Air Force, Navy, and the Army under Hitler's command. Wilhelm Keidel led the High Command as chief, with Alfred Jodl as his next-in-command and Hitler's primary military advisor. In September 1939, World War II began with Germany's invasion of Poland, which ended on October 6th with Germany and the Soviet Union annexing the country. During the war, Jodl served as Chief of Staff during the invasion of Denmark and Norway in 1940, codenamed Operation Weserübung. The goal of the invasion was to secure naval bases for use against the British fleet in the North Sea and ensure vital iron ore shipments from Sweden, on which Nazi Germany was dependent. Denmark surrendered within 6 hours, but Norway held out for 2 months before surrendering to Germany. After the fall of France in June 1940, Jodl was promoted directly to general, bypassing the rank of lieutenant general. He spent the next few months drawing up plans for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, which began in June 1941. Jodl was also involved in drafting the Commissar Order on June 6, 1941, which instructed the Wehrmacht to shoot any political commissars on principle when captured in battle or offering resistance. These were the Soviet Communist Party officials who oversaw military units and reported directly to party leaders. The German invasion of the Soviet Union, known as Operation Barbarossa, began on June 22, 1941. In May 1942, the Commissar Order, which authorized the routine shooting of political commissars and Soviet prisoners of war, was cancelled due to strong resistance from the Soviet soldiers. However, the killing of enemy special operations troops was still authorized by the Commando Order signed by Jodl. During the planning of the Case Blue Offensive in southern Russia in the summer of 1942, Jodl and Hitler had repeated disagreements. Jodl criticized Hitler's intervention in operational planning and splitting up of Army Group South. When the German attack stalled in the run-up to the Caucasus, Jodl countered Hitler's accusation that local commanders were to blame for the situation. Hitler planned to replace Jodl with General Friedrich Paulus after conquering Stalingrad, but it never happened. In February 1944, Jodl was promoted to Colonel General. His wife, Irma, died on April 18, 1944, and remarried 1 year later to Louis von Benda. However, this marriage remained childless. On July 20, 1944, Klaus von Stauffenberg attempted to assassinate Hitler. Jodl was present in the Wolf's Lair field headquarters and slightly injured in the bomb explosion. Hitler ordered a massive hunt for conspirators, resulting in the arrest and execution of more than 4,980 people. Despite his criticism of Hitler, Jodl remained loyal to him, praising his strategic foresight and carrying out his orders. In 1944, during Operation Northern Lights, Alfred Jodl ordered the evacuation of over 40,000 people in northern Norway and the destruction of thousands of houses to prevent them from aiding the advancing Soviet forces. After Hitler's suicide in 1945, Karl Donitz became the head of the state and sent Jodl to sign a surrender that only applied to German forces still fighting the Western Allies. However, Eisenhower demanded a complete surrender of all German forces and threatened to prevent Germans from fleeing into the West, leaving them to advancing Soviet forces. Jodl signed the surrender on May 7, 1945 in Reims, France, but it was rejected by the Soviet High Command, who insisted that Wilhelm Kettel, the supreme commander of all German forces, personally sign it. Kettel signed the definitive instrument of surrender in Berlin on May 8, 1945, which ended World War II in Europe. Jodl was later arrested by British troops and tried at the Nuremberg Trials, where he was found guilty of crimes against peace, planning, initiating, and waging wars of aggression, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Jodl claimed ignorance of the death camps where millions of Jews died, but his lies did not save him. The International Military Tribunal found him guilty on all counts and sentenced him to death by hanging on October 1, 1946. Jodl and other top Nazi officials' requests for a military execution by firing squad were denied due to the criminal nature of their acts. As we come to the end of our video on the horrific execution of Hitler's Nazi general Alfred Jodl, it's important to remember the Nuremberg Trials and their significance in international law. These trials demonstrated that even the highest-ranking officials were accountable for their actions during times of war. The harsh penalties imposed on Germany after World War I, including the loss of territory and demilitarization, did not deter Jodl and other Nazi officials from pursuing their expansionist goals, ultimately leading to the devastation of World War II. If you found this video informative, please consider sharing it with others and subscribing to our channel for more thought-provoking content.